They laughed when they saw the widow standing alone in the dust, black dress blowing in the wind, hands trembling at her sides. 5 armed outlaws against 1 grieving woman. They thought this would be easy. They thought she was weak. But before the sun set, every man in town would learn a deadly secret her husband had buried with his last breath. Stay until the end, because the moment they mocked her was the moment they signed their fate. The town of Red Hollow had seen many funerals, but none like Thomas Hale's. He had been a good man, a rancher with rough hands and a soft heart, known for helping neighbors and standing firm against cruelty. When sickness took him, the whole town walked behind his coffin in silence. At the back of the line walked his wife, Eleanor Hale, dressed in black from head to toe. Eleanor was not the kind of woman people noticed before tragedy. She spoke softly, kept to herself, and spent most of her days tending chickens, mending clothes, and planting flowers near the porch. She had kind eyes and tired hands. Most folks thought Thomas had protected her from the hardness of the world. 3 days after the funeral, the outlaws came. They rode in at noon, 5 men coated in trail dust, guns hanging low on their hips. Their leader was Wade Mercer, a scar-faced brute with laughter colder than steel. He had wanted Thomas's land for years. The Hale Ranch had the best water for miles, and water meant money. Now Thomas was dead. Wade tied his horse outside the widow's gate and swaggered onto the porch. His men followed, grinning like wolves. Eleanor opened the door before they could knock. "Ma'am," Wade said, pretending politeness. "We came to offer condolences, and a chance to sell this place before things get difficult." "This land was my husband's," Eleanor said quietly. "And now it is mine." The men burst into laughter. Wade stepped closer. "You? Running a ranch? You can barely lift a bucket. I can lift what needs lifting." That made them laugh harder. Wade's smile vanished. "You got until sundown tomorrow. Sign it over or we'll take it." He shoved a paper into her hands and tipped his hat mockingly. Then the men rode away, still laughing. The town watched from windows and corners but said nothing. Fear had made cowards of them. That night, Eleanor sat alone at the kitchen table. Thomas's empty chair faced her. The silence felt louder than thunder. Then she opened the old cedar chest beneath the bed. Inside lay a revolver wrapped in cloth. Her fingers shook as she held it. Memories came rushing back, Thomas standing behind her in the field, guiding her hands. "Again," he would say. "I hate the noise," she'd complain. "Then learn to love what it protects." She had trained in secret for years. Not because Thomas wanted violence, but because he knew the world could turn cruel without warning. Eleanor loaded the revolver slowly. Then she opened another box. Inside were targets, old brass shells, and a second pistol. All night, shots echoed from the canyon behind the ranch. At sunrise, townsfolk whispered from their porches. The widow was practicing. By noon, Wade Mercer returned with his men. This time they brought ropes and torches. Eleanor stood in the yard waiting for them. Still dressed in black. Still calm. Wade smirked. "Last chance, widow?" "No," she said. "Last chance for you?" The men laughed again. They never noticed her hands had stopped trembling. The first outlaw reached for his gun. He never cleared leather. Eleanor fired once. The shot cracked through town like lightning. The man's pistol flew from his hand, shattered before he could touch it. He screamed and dropped to his knees. The laughter died instantly. Wade stared in disbelief. "Lucky shot." "No," Eleanor said. A second man charged with a rope. She fired again. The rope snapped clean in two, and the man stumbled face first into the dirt. Now the town was pouring from homes and shops, gathering in the street. They had never seen the widow like this. Wade drew fast. Eleanor was faster. Her bullet tore through the brim of his hat and pinned it to the water barrel behind him. Wade froze bareheaded, eyes wide. "You miss," he growled. "No," she replied. "I was being polite." Fear spread across the faces of the outlaws. Thomas Hale had not left behind a helpless widow. He had left behind a storm. 2 men tried circling the porch. Eleanor spun and fired both pistols in thunderous rhythm, knocking guns from hands, shattering belt buckles, slicing holsters loose. She moved with calm precision, every shot chosen, every breath steady. No one died. She could have killed them all. Instead, she wanted them humbled. Wade backed toward his horse. "You're crazy." "No," Eleanor said, stepping closer. "I'm grieving." Then she lowered her guns and faced the watching townspeople. "My husband protected this town while many of you hid behind him. Today I asked no man to save me. But I ask you this, will you keep hiding?" Silence hung heavy. Then old Mr. Carter, the blacksmith, stepped forward holding a hammer. Then the storekeeper with a rifle. Then farmers, clerks, stable boys, mothers with iron pans. One by one, the town moved beside her. Wade looked around and saw what fear had become. Courage. He climbed onto his horse. "This ain't over." Eleanor raised one pistol. "It is if you keep riding." They rode hard out of Red Hollow and never returned. The crowd erupted. Some cheered. Some cried. Many lowered their heads in shame. That evening, townsfolk repaired Eleanor's fence, stocked her pantry, and watered her fields. For the first time since Thomas died, the ranch felt warm again. Later, Eleanor sat on the porch with the revolver across her lap. The sunset burned gold over the hills. She touched the wooden grip and smiled through tears. "You were right, Thomas," she whispered. "It protected what mattered." Years later, children still told the story of the day outlaws laughed at a widow in black. And how laughter turned to silence. Because strength does not always shout. Sometimes, it waits quietly until the moment it is needed most. Never mistake kindness for weakness, silence for fear, or grief for surrender. The strongest people are often the ones the world underestimates. If today's story touched your heart, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And remember, even a small act of kindness can change someone's entire life. Red Heart.